We are 14, 15, I don't know how many days into PQ. It feels many. It feels many. So probably a good time to talk a little bit about where we are, what has gone right, what has gone a little less right, and also what's the future. So I have here with me the core Prague team of Prague Quadrennial. With us is, I'm going to start on the left. So this is Pavel Kraus, the program coordinator. Next to him, we have Markéta Fantová, the artistic director. Then we have Magdalena Brožíková, who is the exhibitions manager, and Michaela Burianková, who is the general manager of PQ. Please give them warm welcome.
Thank you so much. So what we decided to do today, because we hear so many questions as we are preparing PQ via Zoom, via emails, but also here as we were walking through the exhibition areas, we thought that it would be nice if we demystify the way how PQ is done through just a very casual discussion where we will be saying some bits, but we are also interested in getting your questions. So we will start with chronologically from the beginning, but we'll try to cover certain things that we already heard that you would be very interested in learning. But every once in a while, I'll just open up questions to you. So this session is really for you to get your questions answered, because I know that there were quite a few, particularly at the beginning of the process. And so I think we will start with how this kind of a festival is done. Where do we start? When do we start? What are the very first steps? Because 4-year cycle is a very strange, long cycle, and it may seem that we're essentially just sitting on our butts for 3 years, and then the last year we kind of hurry up to get it done. So to explain what happens in 4 years. So I'll just quickly start with the beginnings with Michaela, because really after this PQ, it will be over. Everyone flies off. Sadly, our fabulous team that is sitting over there, and there are quite a few of them, so I would like to ask our team member, international and Prague-based, could you just stand up so people can see how many of you are here? Come on, don't be shy. And clearly this is not all of it, but every single member of the team is really an amazing person, putting all of the energy and their heart into the job. I definitely have to say that about this particular team. Anyways, when this is all over, the team really goes back to the core, which is 5 people, usually, right? It's exactly 5 people,
yeah,
I think.
It's about that. So the first year of the new cycle, of the new edition, is usually just artistic director, general manager, one person helping with the project, one with production, office manager, and maybe PR person. So that's really just the core team. And we are starting with new vision of the next edition. We are starting to search for new space to host next PQ. We are starting negotiating with possible partners. Also, what we are doing is that PQ has developed over the years into a platform, and we have our own activities even between the editions. And for that, we also apply for grant supports from Creative Europe, for example, from Erasmus+. And this is the first year is mostly year of planning, preparing, and that includes the financial plan. It includes the timeline for the whole 4 years. So this is how we start.
By planning. This is also time to hunt for a new place or space, which is 10,000 square meters at least, and try to find that in Prague. That's absolute fun to really find a space that will be also having some stages or possibilities. And we're looking high and low. We usually end up with like maybe 5 possible locations, and they were just taking them off the list because we always find something that becomes absolutely impossible and we cannot do. So either it's because something is missing, or it might be going under reconstruction. Just to give an example, National Gallery that we're using the 5th floor of, and then the lower floor. It's been, we were told that it's gonna go under reconstruction for past, what, 8 years or something like that. So we had been waiting when that's gonna happen. Still hasn't happened, but we still couldn't have really entered the space fully. So things like that are happening. At the same time, as Michaela said, the vision is coming together. So when the space is being decided on, the main theme and the main vision is being thought about. So it's about 3.5 years before PQ. Think about that. So we're trying to figure out and see into the future what you will enjoy doing. That's a bit hard because when we're in COVID, we didn't know if it's going to end quickly or if it's going to take for a while. So that's also a challenge to sort of see behind the corner and see what's going to happen. And the theme needs to be open enough that it addresses issues that are happening in the current world, at the same time that it's open to all the countries that are participating, which is 100 countries. So you can't really do thematic questions. This is the thematic main theme like there were in the past. This is one of the questions I got very often. Why don't you do a theme like Mozart? Well, because there are countries that don't really bond with that particular theme, so we can't really do that. Or why is the theme so open? Well, if we are very specific with it, then we're really excluding a whole bunch of countries. So this is really a huge balancing act. And at the same time, because we are about scenography, the chosen space needs to inform the main theme, which in this case definitely did. So I'll just, and there's a financial strategy that goes all into that, which Michaela can touch on.
Of course, as you probably know, the most money comes to PQ from Ministry of Culture, which is the official organizer of PQ, and this amount is divided into into 4 years, and this is our base. It supports us to be able to employ people, but it is not enough in the first or second or third year to do any new activities. So we are without any other grants or support, we would really just be able to do the PQ and nothing else. So our idea, of course, is to use PQ because it's such a huge networking event, and it would be shame to lose all the connections, all the contacts, all the knowledge you can gain here. So we are trying, to keep this over those years. You can imagine it. This 4-year cycle is also difficult for us to get partners that continue to work with us because we cannot give them enough visibility between the editions. So it's really something that we need all include in our planning, and this is the first year. The second year, it's when the real fun starts, because we have to have ready the open call for the main exhibitions.
Yeah, and then also open calls for projects. Everything, I want to stress this, absolutely everything goes through open calls. There's no invitation sideways for anybody. Everyone has to go through an open call. So the questions we get often is, well, is PQ really inclusive? We're trying to include as many people as we possibly can. That's why the programming is so wide. But at the same time, we want to have certain parts of PQ curated. And in order to give it some sense and some direction, open calls are essential. Also, having control and having really transparency and the same conditions for everybody, we have to do the open calls. So however you may not like them, they're really, really important, and they're helping us keep track and being very transparent to everybody. So anyone who wants to ask how it works, we're totally ready to show the process at any point in our selection process as well. So the way it works, the call for countries and regions goes out. At the same time, there are usually, and this comes with the vision, so when we're coming up with the vision and the theme, the main sort of a trunk of the tree is established. So there's a theme for countries and regions and the student exhibition, but there is also, it's usually decided right in the beginning within the very core team what kinds of projects we are going to do, and that's before we have curators on board. So we decided, for instance, that we will have fragments too, we will have the exhibition of performance-based real. So we decide what kind of projects are happening, and then we ask curators to join. It's good to have curators for each project because then they give it shape further. We just give a prompt, we give a base, a small description. The curators who are here in this room take it and they run with it, and they shape it according to their own abilities and skills and all of that. Why do we have so many projects? Another very often asked question. Because I personally am convinced that PQ would die if there were no projects around it. If the exhibitions happen, people will come, build up exhibitions, they will walk into the center city, they'll have fun for 8 days, they'll come back, take the exhibits out, and the thing is gone. What brings the new blood, and I believe all of those students I see over there, are the projects. They come for performances, they come for the PQ studio, which is essential. That's the educational part of PQ. They come to show student performances, and also the exhibitions are there to keep certain people come back, like the models. That's something that people want traditionally. They want to see traditional approach to scenography, so we try to keep a piece of that. So this is our way talking to our audiences from multiple generations in multiple possible ways. Would we not have that? I don't think we would have PQ at this point. I think that's an essential survival part. And really, I think it is my opinion. I'm not sure who shares it, but we will see what happens in the future. And then when the calls for the countries and regions open, Magda's job start like fully. So if you want to explain how that process goes.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give you an idea about the timing. So the artistic concept together with the open call was announced in June 2021, so 2 years ahead. And then we gave everyone from the exhibition of countries and regions and the student exhibition roughly 6 months to express their interest. And afterwards, we started the confirmation process. The open call was available on our website. We also sent it to the previous curators from 2019 and to ambassadors, Czech ambassadors in foreign countries and foreign ambassadors in the Czech Republic. And then once the curators were confirmed, we started asking them about their artistic vision, because we wanted to make sure that their ideas are realistic and that they meet the PQ artistic concept. So it's really, I would say, a year before PQ, it's good to have an idea about the exhibition content and about the floor plans as well. Yeah, I don't know if I should add anything else.
Well, you know, I will ask you a question. Do you have all the floor plans by the time we want them? Because that's also interesting.
No. Well, I understand it looks like we're trying to get it a really long time in advance, but it's good to get these ideas, because then you saw the exhibition halls. There isn't much space around, so we need to know the content of the exhibitions as much as possible, because then we can place the exhibitions accordingly. But of course, a lot of initial concepts changed, which is completely understandable, because exhibitors struggle with funding, and they might have a great idea, but if they don't have enough finances, it's not possible to conduct it. So it's understandable, but I think we need to be flexible. I mean, I don't blame anyone for changing their concept at the last minute, because if there was a valid reason, what could we do?
And I bet that if Adam from production is hearing he's probably like, no, really, no, because I need to know exactly what the hell I'm building. So this is definitely, you know, difficult and balancing act. And then Pavel, as soon as we have the open calls out for the projects, and the curators who are here start to select these projects, then his job starts.
Yeah, well, Misha said that the fun starts, but when I joined PQ in February 2022, year and a half ago, I was like, my job was to make sense out of the spreadsheets with all the data we were receiving through the applications, and it was a mess. But it was like 600 of applications in total, and I needed to create some structure, to give it some structure to it, and to make sure that it works for the individual curators. And that was happening in the first half of 2022, and by the middle of the year, the selected applicants were informed about them being selected, and then the real fun starts, because we needed to figure out how to actually and properly present them in the festival.
And I'll just add that the curators were really great, because we work with we're in constant communication. You would not believe how many emails were exchanged. The amount of emails is insane. And some people during COVID times, being locked at home, decided that it's fun to send more than one, like let's just answer every question in separate email. Great, we love that, you know, with 600 projects, which Pavel had to do, and put them in a spreadsheet. He also tagged all of these emails into the spreadsheet, so we had conversation tracking. That is real fun when you send us like 2 sentences and then you continue in the next email, in the next email, in the next email, and in the next email. So please, in the future, clear one message is super nice. When he says the real fun starts, what has to be balanced out is doability of the projects. I think maybe with Michaela, we should maybe touch a little bit on how actually are certain sections financed, because I think this is such an incredible collaboration. If you think about the model of PQ, I honestly don't think that there's something similar in the world where we would have a certain financial base coming from Czech Republic, but a lot of investment comes from you. And it comes in really huge chunks, because each exhibit is financed by different country, and in different way. I mean, think about how complex the financial system of this thing is. And then the artists who are coming with different pieces, similarly, they're searching for grants. We are searching for grants. So, Michaela, if you want to just touch on that, because it's a maze.
Just very quickly, yeah, basically none of the artists or team that were selected through the open calls for the projects we have, like performances and performance-based exhibition. is fully paid by us. That's truth. And we clearly stated this in all the open calls. It's not within our financial possibilities to fully finance somebody who wants to come with a performance, to cover all the costs, including accommodation, travel, production. So this is something that we are also communicating. At the moment, the open call is out, but also we are trying to be clear and we have individual discussions with all the selected artists. What is possible, what is financially possible from us, and what they need to cover. And those talks are sometimes really difficult, and we understand that the people who are part of our projects are giving a lot of time, a lot of energy to be able to come here. Yeah, that's the reality, and again, it's a question for future, for how long this system could work, you know. Of course, PQ talks are the conference part of PQ, and also most of the speakers here, I would say 95% of the speakers got no support from us. So we are really open about this, and we are trying to be very clear. So, yeah, we will see.
At the same time, do we think it's great? No, we don't. So when we are in communication with you, we are clear up front. It's very hard for us to write those sentences into the open calls, and it's extremely hard for us to negotiate some of these things. For curators, particularly the ones who are coming in for the first time, this is something that we don't sleep for. I mean, we can't sleep because some of our conversations that we're having about these kinds of things. So it isn't easy for us, it isn't easy for you at times. And we are quite aware of that. We just really do not have a better model at the moment how to fix it, because we would need substantially bigger amount of money. And the question is, if we were to pay everyone and use our budget just for that, how big would PQ be, and how many opportunities we would give, and would it really survive? So, and there's such an interest also from your side to participate that we're also trying to negotiate between giving opportunity to as many people as possible, because we know that this could be career changing. At the same time, we're trying to figure out the resource portion of things. And I thought that we are gonna just slide in some questions from you. I think this is a good point to do that. So if there are any questions in the audience, please ask away. This is a debate. This is a debate between us. You also have team members on this side who can also pitch in case there's a question none of us can answer here. So please ask now, because it's better than in the emails that are coming to us. Yes. Wan Jung, and I know you will be asking questions about something related.
Hi, my question is actually, do you need to communicate the theme with the Ministry of Culture in Czech Republic? And how, if yes, how was that done? Thank you.
I think, Michaela, we can definitely answer that. Yes, we do need to communicate what the theme will be.
Yeah, I would say this, there's a PQ Council. It's an official group of people we are responsible to, and we have to, they are meeting about twice a year. There are also people from the Ministry of Culture in this group, some partners, people from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, from Prague, and basically twice a year we are having meeting and explaining how we are preparing the next edition, what are the key questions, what are the problems we need to solve, and they also have to agree on the status of every new edition. They also agree on the list of awards for each edition. So this is, yeah, we communicate with them all the time. Yeah.
And so far they had been nice, but they can choose not to approve something if they don't feel quite like approving something. I mean, it can happen in case it doesn't fit in some way or shape or form. Any other questions? Yes.
How is your relationship with the Ministry of Culture, and has it changed in the last 3 PQs?
This is a nice question.
Sorry, darling.
Super put us on the spot. So,
No, I would say this. No. I would say this. We are preparing the budget 5 years ahead. We are every year we are giving Ministry of Culture, some plan for next 5 years, and they know exactly how much money we need to be able to do PQ. I think this time it was very difficult, of course, because the economy, because the pandemic crisis, because of the Ukrainian war, and we have managed, to get the money that were promised to us. Everything was sorted out, but it was harder, for us and even for the Ministry of Culture to, get the funds. And I think it was also harder for all the people that are exhibiting in the main exhibitions. And I think Marketa said this at the beginning. It is like a miracle that the PQ is here today, because we were just lucky because the last edition was 2019, just before the COVID. And now we are in the time, after COVID, but we'll see. The situation in Europe, the situation worldwide, economically, is still not very stable.
and just to add, how do we feel about the Ministry of Culture? Well, it's a government that we have to keep communication with, but keep in mind that the people who are running it change every 4 years. And that change happens quite often a year before PQ. So that's quite a bit of challenge when we are talking to someone and we manage to get through to that person, because just to explain what scenography is, I mean, come on, we are not agreeing in what scenography is among ourselves. I remember a fight within the OISTAT where people are physically fighting whether it's performance design or scenography. Now imagine we have to explain that to our ministry. So we have lots of funny stories about that, which I cannot and shouldn't share here. But by the time we do get through, that person that we maybe manage to get on our side changes. So then everything starts all over again, year before PQ. And our relationship with ministry, I would say, is extremely challenging. At the same time, we could never do PQ would we not have that money from the ministry. So that's also to be mindful of, that there are plenty of countries represented, but which of those 100 countries is capable of doing what we're doing here? It's in Prague, it's been here since, 67. So obviously something has been done right. And I have to say that regardless of how much I'm sometimes complaining about our ministry. Does anybody want to, or do we want another question? Do we have another question?
We don't have any. Oh, we have. I was going to ask you too.
I also had a question.
We have questions for,
Hi, my name is Liz Bird. I'm a student from the VCA in Melbourne, Australia. I have a question. In Hall 11, there's an acknowledgement of 6 countries that were approved for projects in the main exhibitions, but had to cancel their involvement due to various reasons, it says. Would you be able to elaborate on that? Was that majority financial issues? Or?
Yeah, so those countries are countries who had to cancel their participation, I would say, within 6 months before PQ, and most of the times it was because of financial reasons. Turkey canceled their participation because of the earthquake, because they just couldn't think about culture anymore. So yeah, it's really, I would say almost every time someone cancels, it's because of financial issues.
Okay, so I have another topic we can talk about because this was asked at other panel, and it was a question about sustainability, about the ecological impact of PQ, and I will start just in general. We are very much aware that some countries can come, by their car, by train, hire people here in Czech Republic to build their exhibition. But because people are coming from all around the world, it is not possible for everyone to use green ways to get here. And we are encouraging everyone use the local provider of the constructions or whatever. We are trying to make people who are preparing the exhibitions, what shall they do with the exhibition afterwards? You also know we have the flea market, which is like the open exchange market. You as the exhibitors can offer that something you would like to leave here or give it another use. And also I want to say that in general, when we talk about carbon footprint, and we have to be more mindful about the impact. My opinion is that PQs is only once in 4 years, and the impact of this event is much less compared to other events that are more often. And I think we should be mindful about that, but we should not get influenced that way that we will start to, make the program less interesting or invite less countries, because I think that's not possible.
Yeah, I definitely don't believe we should invite less countries, and I think I agree with Michaela. I also think that the team that is here had done an incredible job trying to keep things as ecological as possible. I know that they struggled and worked really, really hard to make certain ends meet. And I know Adam back there in the production and our architect who is here when we're thinking about how the whole thing is going to be built up. At the end of the day, it ended up being an old exhibition system used in like 90s that you see in our main central hall. That's in a way is completely ecological. It comes together, it's disassembled, put in boxes, taken away, nothing stays here. It's been challenging for production, I'm sure of that, but they had done a brilliant job taking care of all the spaces, I think. So that too is a big, that there's no leftover material after us too much. We cannot actually as an organization own anything, which I think you should explain because I never understood that bit. But anyways, we don't, so we can't buy stuff and keep it. We also don't have anything or anywhere to store it. So yeah, so I think from that endpoint, and then you take it all the way to the cups and trash and all these other things. So I think it's been definitely worked on. And I have a quick question for Pavel here. Not question, but a question I hear quite often from others. So I'm just gonna bounce it off of Pavel. And that is, and it would be nice if Adam was here, but he never ever will come on stage. This is a lot about negotiating, particularly performances this time around, because the curators are nice. We talk to them about sustainability of performances in terms of, and also sustainability of some of the exhibitions, that's why they're outside. But a huge and fierce negotiation is happening about the tech support for certain things. So I just wanted to, that's a question we get a lot when somebody submits a show or submits a project or a performance. How do we actually communicate and negotiate the technical side of things?
After all the applicants were selected, we had this round of Zoom calls with our production team, and we were discussing their needs, what can be done, what can be done on place, what they can take, what they should take with them. We tried actually when selecting the applicants, we were talking about the performances, for them to be as actually easy to set up as possible, so they can travel without any complications. And also, it's easy production for us to have them here.
And some of these negotiations are really difficult because the artists need something and we can't provide it. And we noticed with Pavel and also with Adam that there were quite a few productions that were made and meant for a dark space, and there were requirements for lights, for instance, or other technical equipment, and we have a huge white space in the gallery. And we are working with public space. So that also has been very interesting, that some of the pieces we wanted, but they were actually made for an entirely different space. So a lot of these Zooms, some things got lost in translation every once in a while, and those discussions got really very, very long. I think compared to the last PQ, when we were negotiating performances and other things, it seemed to be shorter because we had a very clear space right from the beginning, which was just an open space or, site-specific behind, and people seemed to know the spaces better because that was a traditional space of PQ. This time, we took a huge risk going into an area that's live, where the community is embedded, where unexpected things happen, such as everything is dug out around our premises without us ever knowing about it, and it happens just a few weeks before. A bridge that we were promised to open isn't quite finished, so people can't walk across. They may take a boat, like maybe 5 of them at the time. Perfect, right? Excellent solution. So things like that had happened to us coming to this spot, and people didn't know this spot. So people who are applying also had no idea where they were heading and what it's going to be like. We couldn't quite tell them. We told them, well, there's a building, maybe there won't be a building, maybe it will be under reconstruction, maybe there will be a gap, maybe there will be, whatever, we didn't know. So that was hard. And I remember conversation taking for freaking ever, right?
I guess this was one of the biggest struggle that we were encountering, that there was actually a year between the time the applicants were selected and the actual festival, and 1 year, so they were thinking about how to make changes, how to adjust the project. And I mean, as was already said, the reason was not only artistic, even though there were cases like this, but a lot of the performances actually didn't manage to secure the funding that would be needed for them to present the piece in the way they deemed ideal. So several of them actually needed to scale down the production and adjust the places and stuff.
And just to add an artistic bit, in the beginning we thought how beautiful it will be if we connect PQ Studio, that is at Damu, with our performances here. So let's choose a wonderful pathway going through Letna, which is a beautiful park, all the way to Damu. We thought we have it all figured out. We talked to the artists, some of them came here, we showed them the park, everything was beautiful. And then we realized that the Office of Greenery, whatever that's called, something green parks, I don't know, said no, because you cannot step on a grass and because it's overpopulated by tourists anyway, so you cannot use the Letna Park. At that time we had to backtrack and say, oh, great, right? So a whole bunch of new emails started saying, oh, by the way, we have even better solution for you. Let's just move it to the island across, because the bridge will be for sure finished and we will have a very nice connection with that wonderful island that is all green and beautiful. Pavel spent many hours figuring out how that's gonna work. Our curator super patiently, Carolina, was talking to everybody about the change. We resettled everything to the island, and boom, the bridge is not finished. And not only that, all the streets got dug out, so trying to get to the island by foot became also very nicely impossible. So sometimes you just don't know what will happen when you go into a live location like this. Not to mention that there are also subjects that are different shops, different stores. Some other subjects, if you go and search the premises, you'll find out what they are not super friendly. Sometimes signing a contract is challenging, which maybe Michaela may want to touch on, no? But basically signing a contract with anybody for longer than like 3 years ahead of the actual thing is, again, very difficult. But, so that's why I'm saying we took a huge risk. But I think somehow the atmosphere is perhaps better than when it's just the exhibition grounds which are lifeless. But I want to, yeah, I wanted to segue.
Yeah, I also forgot to mention that since we had a new location of the Holešovice market, we held a symposium a year ago where we invited all the curators of countries and regions and the student exhibition who applied to show them the venue. And I would like to thank the curators for their patience because there were issues within the market as well. We took everyone to see the free exhibition halls, and then one of the exhibition halls, we were given a different part of the hall than we were promised, and then we showed to everyone. Then nobody knew how it's gonna look, and in one of the halls, it was meant to be painted anthracite, and then they kept it white. So I would like to thank everyone for being patient and understanding.
On the upside, though, it's got a good history and something to work off of versus like just, you know, white gallery halls or so. So I think there is give and take in everything. So maybe time to take more questions from you. Anybody has any? Okay, great.
Regarding to the spaces of the countries, how do countries apply to get a specific place in the hall? And is it all equal or it depends on something?
So after the symposium, we asked all the curators to give us their preferences, and then we allocated them a space, and of course not everyone got their first choice, but I think it worked out well. Nobody complained about the space, so.
Or maybe there's something we don't know about yet, since you're laughing. I just know that the corners were somehow, for some reason, very much wanted, you know, the cross spaces. There was a bit of a fight about those. And not fight, not in a bad meaning of that word, but it was like if everyone had choice 1, 2, 3, one would be that corner for maybe 10 different countries. So we had to figure that out. But we haven't heard much of a backlash afterwards. So we assumed things are good, I guess. Any other questions all the way back there?
Hi. Thank you for telling us and being very transparent about the way in which you solicit open calls for exhibitions and performances. I was wondering if, in the same spirit of transparency, you could also tell us a little bit more about how you assemble your team of curators and also the team of you all who are responsible for creating this festival.
So maybe, Michaela, do you want to start with the team?
I can talk about the team because for each position we have an open call. It's a requirement. We are part of Arts and Theatre Institute, and it's a state organization. So we have open calls for all key positions, all the managers. Of course, then when we are starting to to prepare the PQ right here in the area. We have a lot of people working with us. I don't know, now it's about 50 people maybe in the only in the production with all the local managers and all external people we hired. I think it's about 200 students and volunteers helping us. So yeah, that's about the theme.
And with the curators, it's a little bit different. With curators, it's people who, there's one interesting not requirement, but something that we're trying to follow, and that is people who lived in more than one country, because we're going really after a certain type of empathy and understanding different cultures. So that's at the bottom of it, and also close connection with Czech Republic is also really good and helpful. That's why we have quite a few people who are originally from Czech Republic but living somewhere else. And also curators are people who are working for, I mean, I'll say it openly, for a very small amount of money for a very long time. Those are also people who have to be incredibly reliable, and they have to react and work with many of you in their spare time, because for us, what we're doing, it's our job during the year. But for the curators, they have their own jobs. Oftentimes they're teaching, or they're doing their own scenography practice. And so what we add on to their workload is an extended amount of hours. And that's really hard job to do, and we're really grateful that that's possible. Any other question? Yeah, back there.
Yes. What are there any, and if so, what are they, considerations made to the accessibility of a space when you are looking for a space to hold the PQ and setting up that space?
So can you, accessibility, I understand the second part, but I don't understand the beginning of the question.
What are the considerations you make for, and what are the things you're thinking about for the accessibility of a space when you're choosing a space for the PQ?
Oh, accessibility, and you mean accessibility for anybody, essentially?
Yes, for anyone.
Yeah. Of course, we would like to make things totally accessible to everyone, but if I tell you that the choice of spaces that we had were, I think we were choosing between 3, really, that were considerable.
Yes.
Yeah, really just 3 in Prague, from which none of them would fulfill all the requirements. We had no choice, if I say that plainly.
Yes, all up in this corner. I'm interested in you picking a new space for every iteration. Is there any interest, or have you tried staying in one place from one iteration to the other?
Yeah. Since the first edition of PQ in the 60s, the PQ was always at the exhibition grounds, which is not far from here. But it was still the beginning to 2007. But I think it was 2008 when the left wing burned down. And since then, there were different solutions. So yeah, is she here? Okay, I can ask her to explain.
No, it wasn't in the industrial palace all the time. It was also in Palác Kultury. Sometimes it wasn't always there. But in 2008, yes, it burned down, and then we had to move. And in 2011, then we did it at the National Gallery and near the National Theatre. And 2015, we did it in the center.
And 2019, we have been back at the exhibition grounds, and now they are finally reconstructing the left wing. So if you go there, you will see just a big hole in the ground. So another big hole. This one is smaller, the one we have here. So we are here now. Yes.
So we picked the smaller of the two disasters. But also, I think, I believe, and this is since PQ was in the center, 2015, there is something interesting about bringing it closer to life. I think it's also harder to do that. And it's probably really good to change the venue. And anyways, because of all the constructions and reconstructions and because it is so hard to find venue in Prague, it will probably continue to change. You know, besides some of the places where PQ existed, it wasn't just the palace that burned down, it was also the very first place of PQ that burned down. So there seems to be something weird about fire in PQ. I'm not sure what that means. But really, finding a place is incredibly challenging and will be challenging for the next crew coming in, for sure. So I would be very curious where it can go next, because I think we pretty much used up all the possibilities at this point. And who knows if the exhibition grounds will be finished or if they'll be financially accessible. That's also an important question. If this space will be, because this is before gentrification, this place will become a commercial center in quite a few years to come, although with the speed of reconstructions, who knows how quickly that's going to go. And perhaps National Gallery will finally go under reconstruction. So really, I don't know what will happen with the next one. None of us can answer that unless, I mean, Pavel has a crystal ball or something. Any other questions? Yeah, all the way in the back.
I was just curious about, I noticed on the PQ website with some of the blurbs that are written about the artists that are performing and the creations, why there is not trigger warnings about sound or other things like that on some of the pieces where there is very loud noise or things that could potentially be harmful to certain groups. I was just curious if you had anything to say about that.
We didn't know sometimes, but Pavel can.
Sometimes we didn't know, sometimes we were not actually thinking about that, honestly. And is there any particular performance that has this issue so we can address it?
Not on my behalf. It was other people that have seen other performances, so I couldn't technically speak to it. I was just curious.
Okay.
Any more questions? Oh, there's one down there. Okay, I see you. There's one here, so let's take care of that first and the second over there.
Hi, thank you for doing this. I have a question about PQ Talks. Do you put out like one open call for that and that people respond to, or do you choose the categories that people respond to? Just because I know that, or it seems that some of the artists that work on some of the panels don't quite know each other. So is that something that one of them proposes and then others come to that, or is that all done by the curator of PQ Talks? Thank you.
I think you can get the answer from the curator of PQ Talks.
Thank you for that question. So there was one open call, and we said you can either propose a panel with people that you already as a part of the panel, or you could propose an individual presentations, and then I would try to combine those into a panel. And sometimes we had people who proposed a panel and they said, I know about 2 people that are great for it, but could you help me find other people so that we could create an interesting, international discussion. So in that moment I tried to help, and I tried to either pull out of the proposals that I got, or I relied on the networks that we have, trying to work with that panel organizer to see if we can find a good fit and create an interesting discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah, then there is the other question.
Yes, thank you so much. We are so very blessed to have you organize this event where we can all travel thousands of kilometers to come to be in this space, and I appreciate that, so thank you. But a few times we ran into moments, in my experience mostly with the PQ talks, where artists or guests could not be with us, maybe because of Schengen visa problems. And in particular, as we think about the importance of having the artists among us, perhaps from sub-Saharan Africa, for example, or other areas, middle of the continent, where finances or travel or politics get in the way, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about how we can continue to improve the fact of the PQ as being that international nexus of exchange and learning and creation for even more people around the world.
Well, as I can tell you, we had given it a huge amount of thought, really big. We decided at the beginning that this PQ will be about live exchange, so we really wanted post-COVID live meeting. We do invite people from those countries. There is a problem with visas. There's a big problem with visas. And so I will say this, and this is, I'm taking myself out of this circle because this is my personal opinion. There are many venues, and we went to some festivals where the presence of different countries is oftentimes solved by, oh, let's get African people, so let's get them, the ones who are living in London and Germany and other places. We're not doing that. We're actually really going after people who are coming from those particular countries. I can tell you that when we had our symposium, Where Are We, in last May, we had 2 representatives from Cave Borough coming in from Africa, and we didn't learn whether they got their visas or not only a week before a conference. When you give somebody a keynote and you don't know whether they're coming or not, and you don't know that till the week before the conference, you're taking a giant risks. We're willing to take those risks, but we can't take them 30 times. We can take them maybe 5 times. So this is the reason why this is happening on one end. On the other hand, if you're talking about digital presence, in May we had a lot of digital possibilities, and that happened in May. But this time we said, really, we just want to have a personal encounter with everybody. We also have a knowledge exchange platform where we're trying to bring those people in and give an open access to everyone. That is an online platform that is going throughout, and that's meant for that, and that's built for that. At the same time, we have a curator of the performance space here, and a thought behind that particular and the whole exhibition is about trying to reach out to countries that are very difficult to reach and receive at least the films from the creators. So yes, we're thinking in multiple ways how to include these countries. And I think until somebody tries, I mean, it's hard to explain what it's like unless you are organizing something like that and you learn about the visa situation in particular. And that is something I don't really know how to solve into future, but things like Russian aggression certainly played into it, because Russia has a geopolitical interest in Africa that impacts the length of visa delivery. So just think about what's happening in the world and where we are, sadly. Any other question?
Yeah. So you told that in the upcoming year you'll already be preparing for in 4 years. So I was really wondering, how do you organize feedback and reflection within the team, and also possibly with people outside the team, or with curators, or even with people visiting, to really make that next step towards the next 4 years?
Michaela can.
Well, the last PQ, during the event, we even had a survey, you know, between the people attending. It was about the economic impact of the whole event here on Prague and Czech Republic, but also we got some numbers to see what are the countries and continents people are coming here from mostly, how much time they spend here, and so on. So it's more, you know, like about the economical feedback. We have numbers, we have some, you know, we can imagine how much money they spend here and so on. But about if we are talking about the content or about the feedback on the projects, you mean more? That's what.
My question is really in general, like how do you organize it?
Okay. So there's always feedback with the curators after PQ.
We are trying to collect feedback, but and from curators and from others, and I do often. Well, I also have this time we have student assistants who are gathering, kind of secretly, feedback from you. Because last time when we tried to do that, and we asked if we can have a feedback sent to us, a lot of you left PQ, and then it's like, oh, our life goes on, and we never receive things that we really want. I mean, we do a certain percentage, but we want more. So this time we're conducting it right on the spot without you even knowing. So we will learn what your feedback is. Oh, whoa, so let's go. I'm trying to be fair here. Can we go from the front to the back? And I'm trying to be fair, so if I'm sorry, I apologize if I'm not like in perfect order.
Hi, my name's Lexi. I'm also from Melbourne, Australia. My question is also about the PQ talks. For those presenters who don't have English as a first language, are they given the option to have a live translator, or is there any of that established from the get-go?
Thank you for the question. The question of language justice is something that has been very much on our minds. I am very well aware that we should have interpreters for everyone. That's what I would like to be the case. It has not been possible really because of the budget reasons. So we have asked everyone we said English is the language of our gathering here, but we have tried to work with everyone, support them, again, relying on sort of very informal networks. I can give you an example. I had a speaker who was not comfortable talking in English, and I brought my husband, who's Mexican, and he was interpreting for her, or, relying on other friends of helping and supporting, so that everybody who wants to speak gets heard. But again, I am very well aware that this is an issue. Also, very much noticing that the questions we mostly have are from people whose first language is English. That tells us something, and something that I think we definitely need to work on moving forward.
Maybe before we get another question, I'll address the issue of language, because it is problematic in some way. Just something that we noticed as a team that's difficult for us also. That's the fact that we have we have English as the main language, and yet there's a struggle about what type of English we need to use. So we're trying to use as simple of a English as we can, and then we get feedback from our first native English speakers that are telling us, oh, can't you just come on, be more. Or we get corrections essentially, can't you just make it more sophisticated? If we make it more sophisticated, half of the world can read it. So I would like to ask here on behalf of our team and the rest of the world, please go easy on us. The reason why we're using the language we're using is because we want it to be understandable, and we need to do that in the future as well. So don't judge the quality of sophistication. We just need to get the damn message across, so please. Yeah.
My name is Aurelia. I'm from the US. This is just a logistical question about sort of access to so much. There's so much here, which is just incredible. I noticed that the PQ talks are it seems to be very well documented. Will there be access for folks online or what have you who may have missed PQ talks that are so well documented for us to engage with the conference after our close date, or are we in purely live space again? Thank you.
So everyone who bought or got a festival pass, you will get access to a digital archive. It should be open, I think, in July, hopefully. With most, I would say, most of the recordings from PQ talks, we have few exceptions. Some presenters asked us not to publish their talk, So this is one thing. You will get access to documentation and photos from all the exhibitions. We have few performances recorded. We have the award ceremony recorded. So this is something you will get access to. Okay.
Plus, I do want to say that we have a fabulous PR team that is getting the pictures out as quickly as possible, and you can see them all on social media constantly. Okay. Yeah, they do. Pavle, I'm sorry, there were 3 questions. I just want to make sure that, I don't know, do you want to answer or do you want to ask? Okay, can somebody please give him a mic?
Sorry, I'll return to in a minute. This is about languages and inclusion and also documenting. So I'm curator of PQ Best Publications. When we were selecting the jury, we were addressing people with multiple languages so that we can cover all the 15 languages that have been submitted. So we were very conscious of that. As part of that submission, we asked all the authors to make a video of 5 to 7 minutes in the English language about their book. This will also be online, present on the Knowledge Exchange platform, so that people get access to sophisticated, highly sophisticated publications in a multiplicity of languages. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you. So do you remember the order of questions? Because I don't, so let's just, okay, perfect.
Hello, my name is Roman. I'm from the US. I was one of the people who attended the trans and non-binary sonographies talk, and when I was there, it was so packed that they actually had to turn people away at the door. So I wanted to know if there was any thought about maybe expanding the amount of talks about trans and queer sonographies, especially considering how many people from the community are drawn to spaces like this.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the whole question. Did you all, do you know what? Can we please have a repeat and louder?
My name is Roman, I'm from the US. I wanted to know if there's any thought about maybe expanding the amount of trans and non-binary sonography talks, because when I attended the one that was here, there was so many people that they actually had to turn people away at the door.
Okay, thank you, now we understand. It's a food for thought for us. It's actually new knowledge to us, so we are observing, we're making notes, and this is good to know. So if there's interest of, obviously, I mean, there's interest, so we should definitely reflect on that and do something about it. So that's a good feedback. Thank you. Was there a third question, or am I just making it up? Oh, that was the third question. Okay. No, there's one more somewhere. Okay, sorry. So now I'm confused. Is there a question? Is there no question?
No, I don't know. There was a question back there? Yeah, no, you go. Okay, so I'm Vicente from Brazil. First of all, congratulations. We've been coming here for a long time, and we love the PQ talks. Barbara can tell that. But anyway, it's sort of a suggestion in 2 topics. First of all is about the PQ talks. They go really well, but I think you have very little time to discuss. So I think perhaps you should stretch the timing between the talks for the next PQ, because I think it's nice to be able to talk afterwards, because as there is 2 PQ talks, one after the other, there's no time to discuss outside. So this is one topic. And the second topic is most of us work as well in film. I'm like for example, myself, I work a lot as a production designer for films. And I'd like to know if there is an interest of bringing the film into the PQ, because I think there is a need for it. I've been talking to a lot of people outside, and in this morning we had a production designers collective meeting outside the PQ, and there was a lot of people talking about it as well. So it's just a suggestion and question.
And can you write it to us so we have this in writing, the suggestion in particular? Yeah. The film idea is interesting, and I think first time we hear it like that, like directly. So if you can just
Yeah, actually this idea came as well because of in the critical costumes meeting, we know that the next one is going to be in Los Angeles, and there is sort of a film thing going on for the critical costumes meeting. So yeah, I write it to you, yes.
We were trying to put films into the performance space part, but this is an interesting suggestion. And the first part about why is it so tightly scheduled, it is a balancing act between giving opportunity to as many speakers as possible, and this maybe is for Barbara, because I think she had, I don't know, how many applications did you have? You might as well just sit here with us, honestly.
I don't, it was definitely over 200, well over 200, and I absolutely get that suggestion. I think we all can always benefit from more time to discuss and process, but really my sort of motivation, and that's why we have so many of them, and it's really hard on the tech team. I would like to give shout out to them as well. Yeah, thank you guys. They are here from the morning until night, and then even though we asked people to give us their presentation ahead, most of the people ask us for changes. But again, it was the idea that we try to include as many people as possible, as many voices as possible, so that people get opportunities to talk about what they need to talk about. But yeah, thank you for, that's something to definitely note and work with as we move on.
So if there are any, I think maybe time for possibly 2 last questions, but if there are not any, we would probably just wrap up. So last call for questions. Yes.
What advice do you have for aspiring people who want to go into management roles, such as yourself?
This is the craziest question ever. I don't know. I mean, because there's no good answer for it, you know, because, can you repeat it out loud?
Just any advice for aspiring young people that would like to be sat where you are in a couple of years' time?
Couple of years' time.
Maybe 10.
I don't know how to answer that, because for myself, maybe I think this is a question for everybody, so I think I'll hand the mic to everyone. But for myself, I don't know how, I mean, yes, there's building up networks, working for various, and volunteering for various positions. That has happened in the past. If you look at my resume, you will see how there is a buildup of an interest in international working and networking and all those kinds of things. So I would say that's definitely one of the ways that I realized that I have volunteered an insane amount of hours in that area on top of my design work. So that was my way, but I also don't have a straightforward line how to get from place to place. I oftentimes find myself in places and I'm wondering, what the hell am I doing here? So I think this is a question for everybody, and everyone will give you a different answer. There's no straight road. There's just, you have to dream and see something ahead and go for it, really. I don't know, Magda.
I also volunteered a lot, and I was trying to work at as many cultural events as possible, even though it wasn't necessarily the work I wanted to do. But you have to start somewhere. I don't know what else to say. Just like volunteer, network, be kind to people, and flexible, and it will work out.
So, did I get the question right, that how did I end up here, right? Because honestly, I replied to an ad, so.
I will skip.
if I may add, this is by way of thank you. I'm not sure that this is a way to the podium, but I've noticed that people who are working on the team, on the PQ team, and that's a big shout out to Michaela and Markéta and everyone else who put the team together, are incredibly generous, incredibly altruistic, and self-sacrificing. So there is not only the volunteering work, but the people who are running PQ are incredibly generous with their attention and time. They are not just artists about me, myself. And I think that's a very important thing to say.
Well, I just want to extend that to everyone who came, really, because you coming from far away, bringing exhibitions, probably many of you volunteering, making it. I think that's what makes this world click. Without it, it would never work. And I do want to thank to the team, because our team's been here insane hours. We walk back and they're still here at 2. PR team is working at 2 a.m., 1 a.m. Everyone is working very hard, and that's why we're not so. We thought we were coming to this talk and we thought, we want to be upbeat, we want to laugh, we want to be fun, ha. But we're so beat, we're so tired. It's not coming out well, but we tried. So I think we can wrap up with that, right? Well, thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for our incredible team. Thank you to Pavel, Markéta, Magda, Misha. Thank you for your work.